What happens when innocence
isn't innocent at all?
In 1993, 3 8-year-old boys were found murdered in West Memphis, Arkansas. But the real horror wasn't just in their deaths. It was in discovering that children, some barely old enough to tie their shoes, were capable of unthinkable darkness. Tonight, we descend into the devil's playground, where the line between childhood innocence and evil becomes terrifyingly blurred. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you believe about the nature of good and evil in our youngest souls. Jesse Pomeroy. Remember that name. At just 14 years old, he became one of America's youngest convicted murderers. The year was 1874, and Jesse had just tortured and killed a 4-year-old boy in Boston. But here's what chills investigators to this day. Jesse showed no remorse whatsoever. When asked why he did it, he calmly replied, "I couldn't help it. I had to do it." He had been torturing younger children for months before escalating to murder, and he did it all with the cold calculation of a seasoned predator. Dr. Michael Stone, a forensic psychiatrist who has studied childhood psychopathy for over 3 decades, puts it this way: "The most disturbing cases aren't the ones where children accidentally harm others. It's when they plan it, execute it, and feel nothing afterward." Across America, behind closed doors in suburban neighborhoods that look just like yours, children are exhibiting behaviors that would make seasoned detectives lose sleep. We're talking about kids who torture animals methodically, who set fires with calculated precision, who manipulate adults with the skill of seasoned con artists. In 2019, a 9-year-old in Denver was arrested for plotting to poison classmates. In 2021, an 11-year-old in Houston was caught planning a school shooting with detailed maps and target lists. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a growing pattern that experts are calling an epidemic of childhood darkness. Dr. Kent Keel, a neuroscientist at the University of New Mexico, has spent years scanning the brains of psychopathic children. What he found rewrote everything we thought we knew about human development. The neural circuits responsible for empathy and moral reasoning, Dr. Keel explains, simply don't develop properly in some children. They can learn to mimic emotions, but they don't feel them. It's like they're born missing a crucial piece of their humanity. Imagine looking into your child's eyes and realizing that behind that innocent face lies something cold, calculating, and completely without remorse. This is the reality facing thousands of families worldwide. The McDonald Triad: bedwetting beyond the typical age, animal cruelty, and fire setting, has been used since the 1960s to identify potential future violent offenders. But modern research shows the signs can be even more subtle. A child who shows no empathy when others are hurt. A child who lies effortlessly and manipulates adults. A child who seems to enjoy others' pain. Jeffrey Dahmer wet his bed until he was 14 and collected roadkill as a child. Ted Bundy was known for his charm and intelligence, traits that emerged in early childhood. These weren't children who were obviously disturbed. They were the kids who seemed almost too perfect, too controlled. But here's where the story becomes truly heartbreaking. Not every child who shows these signs becomes a monster. Some, with intensive intervention and the right support, learn to function in society. The question that haunts child psychologists is this: how do you save a child who may not want to be saved? Dr. Rachel Williams runs a specialized program for at-risk children in Los Angeles. She's worked with hundreds of cases, but one still keeps her awake at night. "I had a 7-year-old patient," she told me during our interview, "who would systematically torture insects during our sessions. He'd pull off their wings one by one, watching them struggle, and his face would light up with genuine joy. When I asked him why, he said it made him feel powerful. That's when I realized we weren't dealing with a child acting out. We were dealing with something far more complex. The turning point often comes earlier than we think. Child development experts now believe that by age 3, certain neural patterns are already forming that will determine a child's capacity for empathy. By age 7, these patterns are often set in stone. But there's hope in the darkness. Programs like Dr. Williams focus on teaching emotional recognition and empathy through intensive therapy. Kids learn to identify emotions in others, even if they can't naturally feel them themselves. Time is everything. The earlier the intervention, the better the chances. But here's the cruel irony. The children who need help most are often the ones who are best at hiding their true nature. Take the case of Emily, a 12-year-old who came to therapy after her parents found detailed drawings of classmates being tortured. During sessions, Emily was charming, articulate, and seemed genuinely remorseful. It took months for therapists to realize she was manipulating them, telling them exactly what she thought they wanted to hear. Behind every child who shows signs of darkness is a family living in their own private hell. Parents who love their child but fear them. Siblings who sleep with their doors locked. Sarah Martinez discovered her 8-year-old son had been killing neighborhood pets and burying them in their backyard. She says, isn't dealing with what he's done. It's looking at him and wondering if the child I carried for 9 months, the baby I nursed and sang to sleep, is capable of something truly evil. The isolation these families face is devastating. Who do you tell when your child scares you? How do you ask for help when admitting the problem feels like admitting failure as a parent? Some families never recover. Divorce rates among parents of children with severe conduct disorders are significantly higher than average. Siblings often struggle with their own psychological issues, living in constant fear or feeling responsible for their brother or sister's behavior. But some families fight. They seek treatment. They adapt. They love unconditionally while setting firm boundaries. These are the unsung heroes of this story. The parents who refuse to give up on their child, even when that child seems beyond saving. As I researched this story, I kept coming back to one question. Are some children simply born evil? Or do we fail them before they have a chance to become good? The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the darkness between. We now know that genetic predisposition, brain development, early trauma, and environmental factors all play a role, but knowing the causes doesn't make the reality any less terrifying. What haunts me most isn't the children who commit unthinkable acts. It's the ones who are struggling right now, showing the early signs, desperately needing intervention that may never come. Tonight, thousands of children will go to sleep with thoughts that would horrify us. Some will grow up to become the monsters we read about in headlines. Others will fight those impulses every day of their lives and win. The Devil's Playground isn't some distant mythical place. It's in our neighborhoods, our schools, sometimes even our own homes. The question isn't whether evil exists in children. The question is what we're going to do about it. Because in the end, the only thing more terrifying than a child capable of darkness is a society that chooses to look away. Thank you for watching. If you know a child who might be struggling with these issues, please seek professional help. Leave a comment and share it. And remember, the smallest intervention can mean the difference between saving a life and losing a soul.
Subscribe.